Welcome, viewers. We are lined up with our another social pay expert series talk session today, and our session is with Dr. Megha Bansal. Our session titled is Balancing Happiness and Productivity, Nurturing a Positive Work Environment. So, welcome, Dr. Megha.
Thank
Welcome.
you, Neelam. Thanks a lot. And thank you for selecting this topic.
Thank you. So, for the viewers, before we go with the discussion and the chat on this topic, and I know this is a very interesting one, I would like to introduce Dr. Megha Bansal with a very brief introduction of her. I know my introduction will not be enough to justify the experience that she comes with, but it's so Dr. Megha comes with more than 15 years of experience as a mindset and performance coach and trainer and consultant for diversity and inclusivity and for team building. Her expertise lies in using behavioral insights to facilitate sustained positive change, fostering gender sensitization and unbiased workforce. She uses predictive and intuitive intelligence to continuously grow and evolve herself and other individuals, and thus inspires people and organizations to access their inner wisdom, to harness their potential to the fullest. Not only this, Dr. Megha Bansal holds a PhD in neurobehavioral science from DRDO, Government of India, with a focus on understanding unconscious bias and how neurology responds in diverse environment. Her academic pursuits have equipped her with a deep understanding of the complexities surrounding gender dynamics and diversity issues. Additionally, she possesses certification in POSH and Mercer Metal Validated certification from CHRMP, keeping her approach current and very effective. With over more than 15 years of experience in this field, Dr. Megha has worked with different organizations from MNCs to non-for-profits. Her expertise lies in designing and delivering impactful training programs that addresses unconscious biases, promote inclusivity, and empower individuals to create a more equitable workforce and a workplace. So today's topic is very interesting as I'm talking about that how can we balance happiness and productivity and how can we nurture a positive work environment? How can we be happy doing our peak performance, make at the highest productivity and being happy around us. As we know that today we hear about stress, workplace stress, as well as the stress for peak performance, and this is what exactly we are trying to understand from the Dr. Megha. So maybe Dr. Megha, for our viewers also, if you have any question, you can put it on our chat, and we will be taking your question during the discussion. Dr. Megha, we have also received some questions from our viewers from the session, and we are going to start with those. So, it's very important, as I was telling you, that how as an individual, what are some of the essential elements contributing to the peak performance in the workplace? Because as we understand that when we are performing better, when our productivity is higher, that could lead to happiness. But I wanted to understand it from you. Please go ahead and help our viewers understand this.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Neelam. First of all, before I start resolving the queries which you are raising and others are raising, first of all, thanks a lot for this such an enlarged introduction. I am really pleased for that. And yeah, coming to today's topic, indeed, that's a need of the hour to discuss about the peak performance and happiness. But yes, the thing which you are asking, that what are the essential elements which leads to the peak performance, especially at the workplace, though there are several, but there are two key elements which I have learned in the past 2 decades. And these two elements I'll specifically mention, that the one is trust and the second is happiness. Why I'm reaching to these two elements, trust and happiness? If I give you one example, that many times when I ask this question to the people in various sessions, that when was the last time you felt happy at your workplace? So I got varied replies. Few says that yeah, on the day of salary. Few say ki, yes, when we are working with great managers. But to my surprise, many, even majority of the people say that I feel happy at works when I feel trusted and challenged. when I'm doing the things which I like most. And when I'm doing the things which I like most, and I'm creating more and more opportunities to do that kind of work on regular basis, means it is almost like playing to my strength. And when I'm playing to my strength, I feel happy. And when I feel happy, I work at my peak performance level. There is one more very important quote which we usually use, that let's talk smarter, let's work smarter, not harder. And whenever we are using this phrase, usually we have the connotation associated with that, that smarter work means the clever time management and the people management tips. But what I could understand, it's not only about the time management and people management when it comes to smart working. It is more about finding that what I am good at. It means what is my strength, and yet at the same time creating more and more opportunities to do that kind of work. So according to me, what I have learned, the peak performance is always about working around your strength. And when I'm working around my strength, I'm happy and productive. I hope it is justified.
Thank you, Dr. Megha. Thank you for explaining this. And you very rightly said that if individuals, performing at their peak, naturally that relates to also then they are more productive, and that also relates to the happiness that they have. Now, the other question that comes with my, in my mind after that is that if I have to understand this, that okay, how can I be a peak performance performer? Then what are those? How does happiness influence productivity in the workplace? Because one side I wanted to be happy, and then another side I'm also having stress because there is a productivity pressure. So how is this these two things correlated? Happiness influencing the productivity in the workplace. If you can.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. That's really interesting, that how happiness is related to productivity, because sometimes we see both of these terms at two sides of a coin. That happiness at workplace, oh my God, there is no match. Before I dive into this question, just if I'm just trying to correlate it with the approximately the population who are working. So out of 8 billion population of the world, roughly 3 billion people are in the working space. They are the working people. And out of those, approximately 2 billion people saying that they are not happy at work. It means 1 billion people are saying that they are happy at work. The organizations where people feeling that they are happy at work, they are doing 3 times their revenue growth. But these organizations are not keeping their employees happy just by giving them the huge and handsome salaries. The key, the differentiating factors is the people, the employees, they are working around their strength. And when I'm using this word strength again and again, so I'm not only referring to the strength in which I'm good. I'm talking about the specific T model, about the leadership and about the key strength. It means I'm working around my strength in depth and in the horizontal sides as well. So that's a cross functionality also I'm talking. One more example I could quote here, that whenever I'm asking people to find out that what are your strengths. So the moment this word comes, people dive deep into the SWOT analysis. They start finding that strength means the things I'm good at. But just to clarify these terms, whenever anyone is working around your strength, just ask three important questions to yourself. If you need to find out your strength, so find the answer that whatever thing you are working, is your strength is having a yearning quality. It means just go back to the previous week or the last to last week, that what are the activities you did which you want to do again. What are some of the activities for which even you are ready to volunteer. So find out that whatever strengths you are finding out, does it have a yearning quality. That's a point number one. The second thing which everyone needs to find out, that do you have any inquisitive sides towards your strength. When I'm using the word inquisitive, means if I'm working around that sort of element or that sort of work, it means I'm so focused, I lose the track of time. I'm not struggling to put my thoughts together. I'm not struggling to keep my focus straight, because I'm working around an activity for which I'm having so much inquisitive nature. And the third and foremost quality when I'm talking about strength is Strengths are always restorative in nature. It means that if I'm working for hours, I might be feeling physically tired, but mentally I'm so fulfilled. Mentally I'm so elevated. So whenever anyone is trying to find out the strength, just keep in mind these three important words: that does it have a yearning quality, it's inquisitive in nature, and it's restorative in nature. And if you are able to find out those activity around the workplace, certainly I can tell you that you would be working around your strength, and it will give you a lot of happiness. And yes, productivity has yet to come.
Thank you for highlighting, and I like this thing that if something you are doing, it's not the money which will motivate you for the happiness, but it has to be having that creativity, that learning part that can actually motivate you and get that happiness thing into the workplace. I believe that's very, very important because, and this is also important for the organizations to understand. Those who thinks that only the money is directly related to the work, the people's productivity or people's happiness, because if people will be happy, they will be more productive, they will be more engaged, they will be more productive. And money
Yeah.
is not only that factor, there are other factors, and those are equally important, like being creative, being innovative at the workplaces, having that kind of work that helps people to be creative into that. Now with that, the next question that comes to my mind is, if people if have to maintain, what are some of the methods? Like, I know you've already touched it, but for maintaining that workplace happiness, and especially I wanted to also understand from both individual and organizations perspective here.
Mhm. Okay. So if I understand the questions clearly, basically, now the question is arising that though we are talking a lot about strength and happiness, so how we can have this happiness at workplace, how I can maintain the happiness at workplace. And if that is a question, so that's very simple, Neelam, very, very simple. And why I'm telling that's very simple, because the moment I need to create a happiness at my workplace, I just need to work on a triad system. There should be three sides creating the workplace happiness. And if I define that the triad system, so the first side of my triad is constitute the trust and respect, the first side. If I elaborate this term, it means how the employees are being treated by their leaders and by the colleagues whom they are working with. I'll give you a real example. Many times a leader says in the organization that we trust our employees, we empower our employees, but that's a true example. An employee need a laptop, and it required 15 levels of approval for that particular employee to get that laptop. An employee was really asking, am I being trusted by my leaders? So it doesn't mean if I'm not being trusted, how I can be happy. So that's a very important thing. And the moment I use the word trust and respect, only one example comes to my mind: the Four Seasons Group. Four Seasons Group is well known for its trust and respect for their employees. They give in writing to their employees that do whatever you feel right while serving the customers. And the moment the employee feels that I'm having this empowerment, that I'm free to do anything to serve my customer, they give a lot of happiness to the employee. So the first triad to create happiness is trust and respect. The second triad comes is fairness. Fairness means everyone wants to be treated equally. Everyone wants that they should get equal rights, because now in the organization we are dealing with diverse workforces. And again, one example comes to me, that Salesforce, when they recognize that in their organization the men and women who are working the same type of work, but there is a lot of difference in their paychecks. So the Salesforce spent $3 million to just balance that pay gap between the men and women. And that's what they create the fairness in the entire system. And the third side of this triad is about listening. But when we talk about listening, we always use the word like active listening, having a proper eye contact, compassionate look, and keep on repeating what the other is saying. But that is not actually the listening. When we are talking about listening means being humble, but always hunting and searching for the best possible idea. That is listening, because then only the employee will feel that my ideas are being getting respected, the other person is listening to my ideas. Otherwise, why the hell I'll speak something in front of the leaders? So these are the three things which I feel makes a perfect triangle, makes a perfect triad. And if practicing beautifully and perfectly, it's so easy to create workplace happiness.
Thank you for. I believe
I hope that.
you. Actually, yes, thank you. Actually touched very important point. You know, that trust and respect. I really like that point. And secondly, is about treating that equality, and you gave that example. And I believe these are very important. And from a workplace point, these are the hygiene factors in terms of like, okay, these are mandate. I mean, there cannot be an option. There cannot be an excuse for these stuff, and that's why like
Yes.
one has to have the trust and respect, and it's not an optional thing. Now with this, and that surely helps organizations if they can build the culture of trust and respect within this, and it's not only for the saying but also the in practice. The trust and respect should be in practice and not only for the for the poster sake, I should say. And secondly, treating the people equal, whichever diverse background where they comes in, they have to be treated in that equality, because that brings more inclusiveness, that brings people make feel that okay, I belong to this place, and naturally that adds up into their productivity, their happiness, and I believe it helps both individual and organizations both. Now, thank you for explaining this. Now, as we I was introducing you, that you come with a lot of in depth, and having been done the PhD in neuroscience, my next question is actually more related to that. If I had to ask, understand from from the neuroscience side of perspective, that what insight does a neuroscience offer into achieving those peak performances? More from that, how the brain works or stimulates. So, how do you explain it from that side of the study?
I'll not go into the hardcore neuroscience, otherwise, everyone who is listening, they'll feel it's a class of science. But yeah, whatever we are doing, if we are working at a peak performance level or if we are not able to work at peak performance level, both these sides are related to the neurosciences. Like how? I'll give you one example. Roughly two-thirds of people are disengaged and bored at their workplaces, and they are feeling as if like reaching to the office, opening the email, just replying to a few emails, just the same kind of routine work, and they are so bored. So do you think that in that kind of state anyone can give peak performance? Certainly no. And there are the other sets of people, the one third people who are so stressed at work, they are so burnout at work, even to that extent they are not able to sleep well. Can we think that they can give peak performance? Certainly no. So it means if somebody is too much bored, no, no, not peak performance come. If somebody is too much stressed, no, peak performance cannot come. So to achieve that optimum level of working, I just have, we call it the 3Fs formula. So I'll just decode that what are these 3Fs. So before anyone start defining their Fs in their own way, the 3Fs are the fun, the fear, and the focus. These are three things. So if I have to reach to my peak performance level, there has to be a certain mix of neurochemicals inside my brain. When there is a perfect mix of those neurochemicals inside my brain, I would be fully present in that moment. I lose the track of time and I love what I do. How I can just give you the example for this. Remember your first date. You was fully present, you lose the track of time, and you loved what you did. So that level of neurochemical should present in my brain if I need to be fully present at my workplace, and it gives me utmost happiness, and it gives me utmost level of productivity. We'll discuss definitely more neurosciences.
Thank you for explaining. And as I said, for me also, it is knowing something different, because I also am interested in how our brain works or reacts, and how is the science behind that. But surely, going into that, I also have to. I also wanted to understand that, we know that our environment, especially our working environment, our home environment, it impacts our, the peak performances at workplace, our performances and this thing. And nowadays we have seen that, okay, there is a target, there is a kind of stressed up. People are stressed up at work. When they come at home, they bring that stress at home. So if I have to how these environmental factors impact the people's performances, and how people should deal into this. I mean, we understood that, okay, there would be, but how should I actually with it? Because people always talk about balancing professional and personal, but cutting off something that, okay, now I'm entering my home, I have to cut off all my this thing. It's very very difficult, and I believe it can only come with some practice. So we really wanted to understand from you, what as an individual, if I have to do like this, what that I should practice and how we should do it.
Yeah, certainly. So again, I'll come back to the three F's theory. Again, so in that three F's theory, the first F corresponds to fun. When I'm telling fun, so just imagine whenever I'm in any fun mood, the specific chemical, I'll have to use the few scientific terms now. The specific chemical which is secreted in my brain, the name of that chemical is dopamine. And that dopamine chemical is a brain booster. It allow me to think faster, learn faster, do faster. But the biggest question in front of all of us is how I get this dopamine shot during the work. Because we never talk about fun at work. We talk about after work parties, we talk about after work engagements and chit chat, but that's not going to solve the problem. We are talking about fun at work. So that is the reason I'm again telling the same thing, that the people who are working around their strengths, they feel happy. Strength, I'll again repeat those three words. Strength means your yearning quality, your inquisitive quality, your restorative quality. So for example, that for me, the fun could be writing a research paper. For me, the fun could be preparing the next instructional design for my next training. For other, could be the fun factor would be just going at the floor and just dealing with the blue collar employee or dealing with the task force. For others, the fun could be playing with the numbers, taxes, accounts. For me, that's a nightmare. So the fun could be different for different people, but the moment I'm able to understand that what are my strengths element, I would be working around my fun factor. So that is the first area. The second important thing which comes in my brain is the fear. When I'm using this word fear, so fear doesn't mean that I'm having fear of my boss and it's got some kind of toxic environment, hostile environment. No, that fear I'm not talking. What happens in case of fear? Fear means, let's say for example, this is my skill and the work which I am getting to be done, this is a challenge. So if my skill and challenge both are at the same level, I'm not getting any push to do the thing, I will be in the bore zone, I will be in the boredom area. So always the fear means my work should be over my skill, it should be over challenged my skill, that should be the level of fear. And in that moment, when the task is over challenging in comparison to my skill, then again a beautiful chemical just released in my brain, and we call it noradrenaline. It's not adrenaline, I'm talking about noradrenaline. What is the function of this chemical? It's a wake up chemical. It gives me a kick, it gives me an alarm that just go to the work, just do something. It's like it will give me a little amount of fear, but yes, it will push me to do a beautiful kind of work. And again, that situation again is different for different sort of people. Like there are few people who just get kicked by when they are over challenging, but there are few sets of people who like to work in a calm and composed environment. For example, the writers, the authors, the surgeons, they are not running for that non-adrenaline kick. So again, we should not extrapolate this theory of fun and fear. For different individuals, it require a different amount of noradrenaline kick to perform that level. And the third factor comes, that is your environment, which you are asking. So by third, I've come from the focus. Whenever this focus comes, I have a very interesting example. Let's suppose that IPL match is going on, and bowler is ready. Virat Kohli is ready on the other side. He is just about to hit the ball, and in that moment, when he's just about to hit the ball, he said, "Stop, hold on. Let me take this call. Let me reply to this message. I have an important message from someone." And the same thing we are doing when we are at workplace. We are taking calls, we are checking messages, email, WhatsApp notification. We are doing a lot of multiple tasks. We are doing a lot of multitasking. And then we are complaining that I'm not able to focus to my work. But the right amount of fun and the right amount of fear, if both these chemicals are in the right amount in my body, then I'll not struggle for focus. Many people ask this question, that how can I focus at work? So I'll give only one and one advice, that if you want to focus at work, then just introduce a right amount of fun and fear at your workplace, optimum levels, and you see you will not struggle for focus. You will be automatically drive towards the focus. And again, one chemical which will be secreted in your brain when you are in a too much focus zone. So that's a blend of three chemicals. One is dopamine, the second is noradrenaline, and third is acetylcholine. That's a laser sharp focus chemical which is secreted in my brain, and it helps me to stay focused in a longer duration. So fun, fear, and focus. Just work on these three elements, and you will never struggle about your peak performance and productivity.
Thank you, Dr. Megha, for giving us the factor that if you want to have the focus in the workplace, have a right mix of fun and fear. And I believe for the managers of today, this should be, that how should they can have this focus for their team or even for an individual. So that's how they can have that work environment or the team structure or the team working style, that they can have this right blend of fun and fear. So, because it's very, very important today, because if you understand organization, that we all know that as an organization, if our employees are engaged, their productivity will be higher. So engagement for an this thing, because generally it is perceived that engagement means only a fun activity, which is not, which is not the case. And I wanted to understand more from you onto that. Few of the viewers have this question, that is that engagement means the fun activity, or is that what we just understood, it is a mixed balance of it, and how can the team will be focused more. So I just wanted to have your views onto this as an expert into this area. And mainly it is for the organizations to understand that to bring a right engagement, it should be a mix of like your work, your fun content, a fear content, and a workplace content. And also the earlier point that you mentioned, that having that respect, having that equality, having that feeling of inclusiveness for the team. But I wanted to have your understanding how the organization should take up this engagement then when they are planning this.
See, Neelam, that's a very important and relevant point which you are putting in here. Many times what organization feels, that give a after work kick to the employees, give a after work enjoyment to the employees, so that when they will come back to the work, they will feel more elevated. But it's just like the spike effect. It's just like that I have given excitement to my neurons, I have given excitement to the electrons in my body after that fun element training. And the moment that excitement goes down, I'll again go back to my work and feel the same state. So here the third element comes into place, which often we miss out. Because what we are working on a very basic theory, that if I'm putting strategy and sweat, it means success has to come. But we miss out the very important element when we talk about engagement. And that element, that factor, it's not tangible. Why I'm saying it's not tangible? Because we cannot see that, but it is so real. It is as real as the presence of air. It is as real as the feelings which we are having right now. And that third element, which is very important when it's come to engagement, is the mindset. And when I'm using this word mindset, it means the way we manage our thoughts, our feelings, our actions, our beliefs about everything, whatever we handle at our workplace. It means about my ability to hang on when I'm stuck. It's about my ability to navigate through the changes. It's about my ability to clear my head and see what challenge I have to face. It's about maintaining a good, healthy relationship with myself, with my leaders, with my colleagues at home, at work, with my customers, with each and everyone. So this mindset element, it's like a soft skill. It's like a trait, it's like a behavior, though I'm calling it a soft skill, but it gives a beautiful, tangible, hard results. And that is an important element which we miss out always. I should not say always, miss out quite often when we are talking about employee engagement. So that is the element which always has to be a part of every type of any training assignments.
I believe I learned one more formula of 3 years, that success comes when you have right strategies and the right amount of sweat or an effort. So, you rightly said, because these are important things. And from the leadership point perspective, when we come in, as and this is more because we see managers, we see leaders sometimes struggle, who are very good leaders, but when it comes for team management, or when it comes for having a right kind of motivation into their team, and then they struggle, why is it not coming? I'm giving all the fun factor, like we just talked about. I'm giving all this to my team, but my team is still not engaged. And then they get into their survey that, okay, yes, from the teams, that okay, we are still not engaged, and we all know that a disengaged employee causes more harm to any organization. And that's why it's very, very important that the people, the managers or the leaders, their team should and must be engaged in in all that. And engagement only doesn't come with them, as you rightly explained. It has to have the other elements too. And I believe it's more, from my personal perspective or understanding, I believe being as part of that whole culture, the culture of the organization also plays a lot. Now, if I have to ask from, that from the leadership perspective, that what role does leadership they play in fostering a culture of peak performance? Because as we were touching in that, how is the organization culture that impacts the whole, how an individual is working there, or how this thing is. So what do you think, how a leadership role that plays in making that culture part of that organization, which actually helps employ for their peak performance, and then so that they can be more happy in the workplace and more productive?
Yeah, that's the role of leaders is very important, but often we are not able to differentiate between the leaders and managers. The term leaders people misinterpret with the position, with the powers in the organization. But everyone has to understand that they are the leaders themselves. First, they need to understand how to lead themselves, then only they can lead others. So there is a very, very subtle difference between the leaders and managers. And the moment we drop down this difference and we start feeling that we have to be the leader by own selves, it means I need to take the accountability to drive myself. I need to take the accountability to contribute into the culture of my organization. Then bringing the change becomes easy. And why I'm telling this, just few days before I was reading a very important book on happiness, that is by Sean Acker. He wrote a lot about happiness, and he was telling the role of leaders is very important in finding out the right happiness quotient. He gave a specific number to this because we are in nutshell we are talking about that happiness will lead towards the productivity. So the role of leaders is to give a specific formula to each and everyone in the organization. And what is that formula which I have learned from this book? that happiness is equals to 2.901. I was really amazed to read this number, but he wrote it very clearly that happiness is equals to 2.901. And what did he mean by that number? That number they got by a lot of after doing a lot of research. Roughly on an average, we can take this 2.901 as 3. So he said that between the negative events or the positive events, there should be a ratio of 1 is to 3. What does it mean? That for any negative incident, for any negative thought, for any negative work which I am feeling, there should be three positive factors. There should be three positive elements. There should be three positive hit inside that person. So the moment the leaders and individuals are able to understand that I am feeling low, it the one push factor will not work. I need to give three push factors. It means I have to put the accelerator three times and only my engine will start working. It's something like that, that 1 is to 3 formula. But yet at the same time, he also wrote that this 1 is to 3 should not go beyond it. The people should not feel that okay, let's take it to 1 is to 6, let's feel so happy. Because in that zone what will happen, we will start neglecting the threat zones. We will start overseeing that are there any threats which are coming to me, because I would be seeing everything by 6 to 1 factor. So in that ratio, I may oversee the threats which are coming to me, which is the inherited, which is the inbuilt quality of every human being. We are so autopilot in seeing the threats. So that is the reason, after a lot of research, he gave this formula of 1 is to 3. And this formula I liked a lot. And probably in any organization, if at the leadership level of it, or maybe at individuals level, we start understanding that yes, we need to work on that specific ratio, that if anything wrong happens, just give a little push. And everyone can find out their push factors very easily. I can find out for myself, anyone can find out for themselves. But yes, at the same time, there are different push factors for different people, because we are working with a diverse culture, we are working with a diverse people. So one size cannot fits for all. So let every individual decides their push factors, what makes me happy. I believe that can address many of the issues.
I thank you, Dr. Megha. One is for me also it is learning this formula of 2.901, that for every negative
I also
thought,
liked it a lot.
yes, there has to be three more or three times better positive thing. And one thing which I really liked it, that every individual is different, and that is why they the way they think, the way what motivates them for being happy or to perform to their peak level is different. And sometimes that is where we see organizations or leaders or managers, you know because if we are different, because that's where we are diverse, our thinking way is different, our working styles are different, our responding to an event is different, and circumstances responses are different. And that is where when so it has to be very important to understand that how customization are important when we are planning this engagement at things at our workplaces. And I believe if people or if leaders can understand this, that will surely bring a much better team for them, a much better and engaged team for them, for the leaders, and that will surely solve a lot of the issues of disengagements and lower productivity and dealing with some of those non-performers. One more thing which I keep on hearing it, and asking around many companies, they have a lot of I should say matrix, a lot of performance measures matrix that they deploy to measure the peak performance. But something which I also wanted to understand, like we have been talking since the start of our discussion, that how happiness is related. If you could, there could be sometimes that you are performing at at your peak level, but you still are not happy because maybe you are feeling so stressed. Maybe you are feeling that okay, I am performing because I am stressed and I have to perform. If I don't perform, maybe there is a question of
Mm,
what will happen to my job. But then
mm,
but we know that if somebody is into that state, that's not a longer and sustainable way, because then the person will give up at a some time, you know. But I wanted to more understand from this, like from an organization side, if companies have to effectively measure and track employees' performances, and as I talked that they have a lot of, but how can they do it? What are some of the things that they should deploy in? Or if you have any examples that you wanted to share from your experiences and your learnings.
Yeah, again, uh, that's a very specific area, that how I should measure that whether somebody is happy or not, whether somebody is working to their full potential or not. So again, I'll quote one very specific example, which I also learned by reading many things. There is one very specific thing which we call Zorro circle. And why I like this Zorro circle example, Zorro was a very famous swordsman, and he was very famous. But there was a point when he was not able to work well with his in their fights. So what happened once, he went to his master, and his master told him that yes, now you practice this sword, that particular craft in the sand. And what he did, the master, what he did, the Zoro was standing in the sand, and the master drew a circle around him. And what the master told him, now your entire world is this circle. You will fight inside this circle till I tell you to move out of this circle. This entire circle is just your world. And what nowadays we need to understand by this Zoro circle, then whenever any challenging situations coming to us, so cut down from everything and just focus on that big challenge. It means just reduce the numbers of perceived threats in your life and work on only one challenge. During that time, you just shut down all the temporary challenges in your life. But what happens in the organization? The people are working on multiple challenges altogether. And in doing so, they feel a lot of stress and they feel burnout. So that example of Zoro circles connects with me a lot. Then if there are small tasks, if they're routine tasks, it's okay. But if you are put into any specific challenging situation, put a Zoro circle around you, work to that task, finish it, come out of that circle, then you'll feel a lot of fulfillment. You will get a lot of dopamine shot in your body, and then you will feel a lot of high energy to work on the other task. The second example, one more thing I can quote here, if any one of you have played the game Tetris. So there was again one very interesting study. A lot of people who were enrolled in that study, and they were being asked to play this Tetris game for regularly for 7 days. And when the people come out of that study, they started telling that we are seeing Tetris everywhere. The Tetris are flying. They are just coming down from everywhere. Wherever we are going, we are seeing that only. Those blocks are just dropping down. So what does it mean? That we can increase this Tetris effect in our working place as well. If we start seeing the similar thing, the opportunities, so it means we will tune our brain to seeing those type of opportunities again and again at our workplace. We will be tuned. And how we can tune with that Tetris effect? Talk more to your leaders, talk listen more about the stories of perseverance, resilience, hard work, smart work, and how to deal with the people, how to have emotional connect, listening that kind of conversations which we are having now. So giving your brain more and more kind of that environment, and that we call Tetris effect. So these two examples, I connect a lot with these two things: drawing a Zoro circle around you and having a Tetris effect in your life. So in this way, it is very easy to measure the performance of someone. That's what I feel.
Thank you, Dr. Megha. One is I appreciate sharing this Zoro circle and Tetris effect. I mean, it's important to prioritize, because you rightly said you cannot have everything at one, and then you feel stressed, because then what happens is, for an example, for a person like me, who is very motivated by targets and results, like if I complete something, that gives me that dopamine, maybe short that you said. And for me, that's the motivator. I believe there are people that when they complete something, they get in. But if we are surrounded with so many things to be completed, then that's where we feel,
Mhm.
that okay, something, then you feel, start feeling heavy. That oh, there are so much of things that needs to be done, and that's why it's very important to follow that zero circle of prioritizing. Get the things done, move to the next, and then move to the next, and that's how you feel that okay, you are accomplishing, you are getting it, and it also helps you to measure how are you, what your productivity is. And I believe that's a very important lesson to learn as an individual, or also for the leaders, that how they should be assigning the work or the task, or should be seen, and helping the individual to prioritize. That will surely in help in and retrospect, like talking about, because we have seen that with especially the Gen Zs joining the organization. And I wanted to touch base this topic as we got some in questions into that too. That where there is this whole that okay, I need to move it very quickly, I need to do it everything very fast, because naturally there is a competition, there is also this
Mm.
whole motivation to move fast, and that's, I said, spirit is good. But then I wanted to have something, some advice or something, that how it should be done, because in that case it's more than the learning, it is more of like I need to move to the next, I need to do all the things together. And if this is not happening for me in this organization, maybe I'll move it to the next organization or to the next. So how do you see this, which is happening, and which is the kind of the trend happening, and what's your advice if you have to give it to this generation, especially when they are
Yeah,
joining the organizations,
yes,
how the leaders
yes,
should be helping them to understand, because it's where both, I believe, the leaders and or the managers and the generation both has to understand that how can they be more effective and productive, because they are very very important part of the organization. That's the new energy and the spirit that they come with.
that's very important because now the majority of the workforce in the organization is Gen Z, and it is sometimes it becomes challenging to just channelize their energy. Because what happens when I interacted with them, so what they tells me that nowadays we are being fed with one statement, that's whatever you believe it can happen, and that make them a lot of anxious. They create a lot of anxiety inside them. Ki, whatever I believe it will happen, is it true? So I'll just give a small disclaimer to this sentence to our Gen Zs, that it is true up to certain extents, but yes, there are certain limitations. There are certain constraints which everything. So why they are feeling so much drained out and so much wiped out in their zone? Because they are struggling with two different elements. What these two different elements? Positivity and negativity. These two words are just bombarding over them, and they are not able to understand where to go, whether I'm positive or negative, what I should go towards positivity, or I'm being pulled towards the negativity. But just try to understand one very small thing, all the youngsters. It is neither about positivity nor about negativity. It is just and just about clarity. So forget about the zone of positivity or negativity. If you have clarity about anything, whatever you are going to do, whatever task is assigned to you, or whatever task you are telling that I am volunteer to do this particular task, just focus on clarity. If you have the clarity in your thoughts that yes, it can be done in these several ways, if you are able to clear all the echoes inside your mind which is just trying to hijack your mind. I use it a very specific terms at various places, again a little technical. I call it, it's like your amygdala hijack. Somebody has hijacked your amygdala. I'll try to decode this word if we have time. But what you have to do, you have to clear all the echoes which are going inside your mind, which is at times maybe negative or maybe judgmental. What these kinds of sounds could be: that you are too young, you have no experience, you don't know how to do that task, you have to learn from elders, you cannot get through that task, you are not like everyone, you are so different. I mean, the lots and lots of things are going to these Gen Z's, and these small, what I should call them, these full bubbles of energies, they are not able to channelize their energy, and that's that point they start feeling that we are some different people. And here comes the point of the inclusion. Then probably they are little different in their working patterns, but maybe we are not having that zeal, or maybe we are not expertise to involve them into the workplace as per their working patterns. So just one thing, have clarity, clear all the thoughts which are going in your mind, whatever your mind is telling you because of surroundings, because of environment, because of other people, and just keep yourself away from this hijack situation, because in this hijack situation you will not be able to do what actually you want to do. You will be doing what that hijacker is asking you to do, and that situation is alarming situation. If you are dealing with that kind of situation, you want to do something else but you are doing something else. So I believe that's the thing which Gen Z has to do at the workplace. Just bring clarity.
Thank you. I believe bringing the clarity and bringing that inclusiveness, and I believe the effort has to be made from both the side. That will, that will help. That will help both the side to understand that what's important, and this is exactly the same thing that you mentioned. That have that quality, have that respect, have that mutual, because rightly said, they come up with a lot of energy. Channelizing their energy and ideas into a right set is very, very important for organizations. Now, with this, our last question is, if we know that there are some potential pitfalls to avoid, then
Mhm.
what are some of those potential pitfalls that we should avoid when we are striving for the peak performance in the workplace? And this is for both as an organization and also as an individual, that one should do and understand, so that one knows, okay, this could be the issues that I need to avoid if I wanted to be a peak performer, or if my organization I wanted to have a higher productivity. What do you wanted to share on this?
There are two big terms which people use in the organizations a lot. The one is work life balance. And the moment we dive into discussion of this topic, it's a potential pitfall where the people are bound to fall. And the second word, very big word which we talk about, that's a conflict. So these two important areas, everyone needs to work a lot. What I have learned in my career, that there should not be this term work life balance. The moment I'm using this word work life balance, it means i have I have clear to my mind that this is work, this is life. My work is not my life and the life is not the work. I have separated these two phases of my life. Why can't I think in this perspective, that the work which I'm doing, it's a part of my life? How can I separate the work from my life? That is the part which is giving me everything. And the moment I use this term work life balance, it means there are two sides of a coin which I have to balance. So don't fall into this discussion. Rather than just do a small change in your vocab, use the word work life integration. I have to integrate my work and my life, because these two are integral part of my life. And the moment you have this little change in your vocab, you will see a different dimensions by which you are seeing the world, by which you are seeing each and everything. You will not struggle that, oh, again it's a Monday. You will not struggle that when the weekend will come, you will not struggle for all these things, because you have integrated both the components. The second thing which we talk about a lot is conflicts. Usually, at many places, we see conflicts as fight, disagreements. We see a lot of tension, we see anger, but conflict is not like that. Conflict is a way to reach to a conclusion whenever we have to discuss any issue. Conflict means conflict could be a healthy discussion as well. Conflict we are seeing just always from a different sides of the planet, as if it's like a sun and moon. But no, conflict is a growth industry. We need to understand how to dive smartly into the conflict, resolve the issue, and come out amicably from that specific challenge. If we are having no discussions, it means that organization will not be able to grow, because in that case it would be a yes boss culture. So we should be able to understand that how to handle the conflicts nicely, wisely, amicably. These two are the things which I always tell, that learn, this is need of the hour, learn these two things.
Thank you, Dr. Megha. I really like, because I have seen organizations spending a lot of hours and efforts into having this training of work-life balance and this conflict management, conflict resolution. While today is an eye-opener to learn that this could be the potential pitfalls as well. If for this, and that's why it's very very important that okay, when they are talking about work-life balance, what does it mean? What exactly it means? And that's why it's so. I wanted to more on the lighter side. We see, okay, we keep on hearing it about in the organization. Okay, we have to do work life balance, and then the person is stressed up, but nobody talks about his or her stress. And then we say, oh, like, but then next moment, the next time the person has to go for a work life balance training, that itself creates stress for them. And that's where it's very important for organizations also to think that what is that customization, what are we talking about, and what are we discussing about, and how is it more than things of training. I believe it's more of an implementation. Are we allowing individuals, employees, or the people to actually practice what is work life balance is? Because we
Hmm.
and I'll tell you from my experience, I believe more than the balance, it is prioritizing. And then because when you prioritize, it takes a lot of stress out of it.
Yeah.
So at different phases, and especially I wanted to touch here from the gender side, more from the female side of work-life balance, because I believe they are more stressed into this. And what happened is, and we know the way life cycle and their career cycle goes, which is almost you know reverse proportional to each other. Because and that's where it's very important. How do they prioritize? Like, and that will help them to get a much better work-life balance. Secondly, you talked about the conflict, resolution stuff. We talked about that how we should resolve, but when it comes to a real conflict, we have seen people
Hmm.
forgetting all that conflict resolution and conflict management training, and they are coming and building that stress, and then we have seen it between happening within the individual, between the interdepartmental. So thank you, Dr. Megha. I believe we are coming at the end of our session, but I wanted to just summarize what we have learned, starting with why it is important to have the respect, the equality. Then we learned about the 3F factor, which is very important, that to focus has to have a right amount of fun and fear, that leadership needs to understand why engagement is important, and why it is important to understand the customized engagement, because we are different people with a different thought process. Then I also learned about the 3S strategy sweat that leads to success. And as I said, these are some of the points that I learned, and I'm sure our viewers should also have learned it. And then we understand, why is it your last point, the Zoro circle, the prioritization part, and then the Tetris effects part of it. And the last
That's
is
beautiful. Tetris effect I like a lot.
thank you. And then the last one is what are some pitfalls which we always, that one organization should and must avoid for a peak performer, for them and self, as well as for the employee. Now, I believe we are at this. We are just with 2 minutes left, and my last question is, do let us know what is the mantra for that being happy. We talked about it, we understand it, but if you wanted to summarize in one line or two line, what is that mantra of being happy at our workplace after all our discussion?
It's not even one line, it's just one word: clarity.
Thank you.
Only and only one word: clarity. If I'm having clarity in my thoughts, in my action, if I'm not hassled in my work, I would be happy. The more I'm hassled, the more I'll move away from the happiness. So it's only and only one word. I keep it posted at many places, at my work, at my home, in my system sometimes: clarity. Moment you have clarity, happiness means we'll not struggle for happiness. We will be happy before even starting the work. Because I'm having clarity, I'm sorted. So just
Thank you.
one word, not even a phrase.
Thank you, Dr. Megha. I believe with the clarity of thought, with the clarity of responsibility, understanding, and all that things for the clarity if one has, for organization and also for the individuals. That's the mantra for this success. That's what we learn through our this expert talk series viewers. So if anybody would like to have more detailed understanding sessions, can always reach to us, and we have experts like Dr. Megha with us who are ready to facilitate sessions for you and your organization. Thank you, Dr. Megha, again. Thank you for being part of this discussion. Thank
Thanks
you.
a lot, Neelam, for this wonderful discussion.
Thank you.